Welcome to Exodus Ministry. My name is Justin, and in today's video, it's going to be a bit of an accountability and transparency style video. The reason for that is we're 100% funded by you guys. And so, whether you donate at our tent revivals, or you donate through exodusministry.net, or you donate through our Facebook page, or maybe your church gives to our ministry, we're 100% funded by y'all, which means we need to be transparent with you with what we've done with your money in the past. And we also need to be accountable to you guys, let you guys know if we're going to make some changes and why we're going to make those changes. Also, I'd like to kind of introduce ourselves, if you will, to you new followers on Facebook and on YouTube and Rumble and wherever it is you consume your social media. So let's jump right into it. Why Exodus Ministry? What is it that we're doing? My wife and I, I used to pastor a church, and we prayerfully stepped down from that church. And after we stepped down, we were praying about what to do next, and we felt led to start these tent revivals. Now, my wife and I have 4 small children, 8 and under, and we live in a tiny house. This is the reason why I'm doing this recording in our camper that we use to travel around to hold our tent revivals, because my wife homeschools and she does all of that in the tiny house, and trying to do a video in there is not really doable, right? Because I will be distracting the kids, or the kids will be distracting me, and it's just not going to work out. So this is our travel camper / office, if you will. And so in praying about these tent revivals, the vision really was, if you will, not vision like you read in the book of Daniel where he had a vision, but the vision for the ministry was that we would go into these cities, that we would hold tent revivals, and that we would ignite or reignite the fire down inside the people of God, that they might take that back to their home churches, and it would spread like wildfire in their home churches as well. Because here in the Missouri Ozarks anyway, churches on a large scale, not all of them, but on a large scale, are very dry and very dead, and it's heartbreaking to see. And so that was kind of the goal, was to go into these cities, have revival, hopefully ignite the fire in the people of God, and they would take that back to their home churches, and then through that fire that was relit, they would be able to reach the lost in their community. That was kind of the overall vision. Now, that being said, it's been a couple years since we started doing these, and we weren't sure how things were going to work out because we've never done this before, nor did we know anybody else that has done this before. And so we just kind of had to pray and seek the Lord and let the chips fall where they may, if you will. And what we have found out is truly what we felt like needed to happen is kind of what happened. Primarily, we have lifted up the people of God in the communities that we have been in. We've not had a lot of lost people come to our services. We've had a handful, and we've had a handful get saved, which has been fantastic. That is also reviving. But primarily, what happens is people come and they don't realize there's still services like those going on anymore, or maybe their church is just really dead and they're just encouraged. As well as sometimes it's just been my wife and I and my children, and we live stream our videos or our events, and so we just go ahead and try to have our services anyway. And that has encouraged some local pastors in our area that we know well, that have reached out to us and encouraged us and asked us just to keep going even though nobody's there. And it's kind of ignited a fire in them to see the seriousness and the trouble that we're in as a nation. And so not only that, even cities not letting us in has kind of opened the eyes of those church folks, of our brothers and sisters, is what I really mean by church folks, right? That have just kind of had their head in the sand and not realized just how much trouble we're already in right here in this country. And so that's kind of what has happened primarily, along with a lot of times we have, like in city parks, we'll show up at like 3:00 in the afternoon at our tent. And in that tent, we've got a table and we've got free Bibles that we give out. So I'll show up at like 3:00. We'll fold the sides up. We'll set out our table, says free Bibles. And we have a lot of homeless and addicts that will come to our tent. And we get a chance to minister to them, to give them Bibles and those kinds of things. And so let me give you a rundown of kind of how we've been doing it in the past. And what we want to change in the future. So what we have kind of done in the past is we have left on like a Monday. We've showed up at the campground Monday evening, usually Monday afternoon, Monday evening. We set up the camper. I get our flyers ordered through some UPS store that's close to us, wherever it is that we might be. Kind of get all that stuff done. Tuesday morning, we get up early. We go get our flyers and we start passing them out in whatever city that we're in, my wife and my children and I. And we have found out, depending on the city and depending on the layout of the city, somewhere between like 50 and 150 flyers is about what we can get out. And then on Wednesday, we set up our tent. On Thursday, we start having services. We have services Thursday through Sunday evening. On Monday, I break down the tent, and usually either Monday night or Tuesday morning, we head home, just depending on how hard it was to get the tent put up, really depending on how hard the ground is and how hard it is to get the anchors out. And so one of the reasons why we've done it that way is a lot of the cities, it was hard to get them to let us in more than about 4 days in their city parks. And we were also trying to keep cost as low as possible because, quite frankly, doing this here in the United States, especially, it's expensive. Campgrounds cost money, insurance costs money, food costs money, fuel costs money, Bibles cost money. Like everything's expensive, right? If you do any of your own grocery shopping, you understand how expensive it is. And so it's kind of that way with everything. So we're always seeking to try to keep the price down. That way we can stretch the dollars that you guys donate to us as far as possible. That's kind of what we've done in the past. There's some problems and some overarching needs we have seen in every city that we want to try to fix. Some of the problems and needs that we have seen are this, right? There are homeless in every community that at least feel like the church isn't caring about them all that much. You can take that for what it is, but that's at least how they feel. Addicts in every single city, so much so that a lot of the city parks, we have to pay a deposit. And they give us a key, and we have to unlock the bathrooms when we show up for our services, and then we have to lock them back when we leave. And we only get our deposit back if the bathrooms are still in good shape. The reason why the cities lock them is because there's so much drug use, vandalism, overdosing going on in the bathrooms. It's a sad situation, right? And so that's how prevalent it is. And it's not just one city, it's been in multiple cities that we've been in here in the Missouri Ozarks that have been that way. And so, there are addicts in every single city. There are also people that come to our tent that won't go to local assemblies. That's been everywhere, just about. Church hurt in every city, just about. Finding truly spirit-filled churches in every city. Man, we have people, it's like, I'm driving an hour, not because there's not local assemblies here, but because I can't find one that is spirit-filled, Bible-believing, that's teaching with boldness and courage, that is not ashamed of the Word of God, that's not dancing around the hard things, but is willing to address the hard things. Like, I'm having to drive an hour to find that, as well as churches are largely unwilling to work together. So what I mean by that is I've been in cities where men have tried to get area pastors together and just pray about the lost people, about the drug problems or whatever in their cities, and they can't even get pastors to do that. Forget trying to nail down doctrine and all those things, just praying for the lost. Like, everybody needs Jesus, and they struggle to get pastors, area pastors, to even do those things, right? Also, what we have found is I will try to email and message people on like Facebook Messenger, churches, and I'll message pastors, however I can get a hold of them. And I have had very, very, very few responses. And what I mean by that is not people necessarily coming to our tent revivals, but I mean people even being like, hey, this is great. Tell me more about your ministry, or tell me more about what you guys believe so I can figure out whether or not I want to promote this at our church. Or we'll pray for you, right? Like, we've had very little of that. We have had some, which has been fantastic. But I mean, it is the rarity. It is not the norm. And so those are some of the things, some of the needs that we see in some of the cities that we've been in almost every city that we've been in. Now, some of the problems with what we have done, primarily, we believe, is that we are not there long enough to make the impact that we would like to be making. So remember, as we go through some of these solutions, if you will, which is what we're going to go through next, the point of our ministry is to revive the church. And part of that, I believe, as we have been doing this longer and seeing that there are more needs in the cities, and we don't feel like we're addressing those needs correctly either as a ministry. And so to make that adjustment, to address them correctly the way we see fit, the way that we feel like God wants us to, as well as trying to set kind of a micro example, if you will, to the local assemblies in whatever area, almost stirring them with a righteous jealousy to be like, well, if these people can come into our city and do this, then why aren't we doing it? And what my mind goes back to is many of our tent revivals. I have had pastors and brothers and sisters in Christ say that. Why did you have to drive 45 minutes or 2 hours or 5 hours or however far you came from? Why did you have to come and set up in our city parks? Why aren't we doing this, right? And I've had them talk about how they've prayed for revival for their areas for years, knowing that it would take some sort of somebody coming in from the outside, right? And so, like, how can we kind of begin to build that into these cities? So here's are some of the solutions that my wife and I have prayed about, we have talked about, we feel led to do. And so rather than having about 2 to 3 revivals a month, we are going to shoot for quality over quantity this coming year when the weather gets better. I say that as it's 75 degrees in the end of December here in the Missouri Ozarks. It's crazy, but as the weather generally gets better in the spring, we want to try to pour more time into the cities that we're in. It's not that our services necessarily are going to be any better or worse, but that we do things a little bit different. And I'll explain as we continue going through these. So one of the things I'm going to do different is I want to make a short video to reach out to area pastors and churches, kind of letting them know who we are so they have a face to a name to an event, right? Let them know who we are, kind of what we're doing. Let them know we are a part of the body. We're not there to compete against them, but we are there to be a part of the body, to help them, to be there for them, to just be a part of the body working together. Because I think churches kind of get it in their mind a lot of times that people like us and maybe even other churches in their area are competing against them. And so we want to squash that as quickly as possible. And also I'm going to try to develop a letter to let people know kind of what we believe, so I can send it via email or Facebook Messenger or whatever it is to the area churches, so that they understand once again why we're there, what we're doing, and kind of generally what we believe. Why are we doing that? Well, once again, we are trying to foster relationship, at least on the short term, in these cities we're going in, with the hope that these local assemblies will foster relationship between one another, right? If this guy can come into the city, foster relationship, why aren't we trying it? So that's kind of the plan moving forward. My wife also came up with this idea. I think it's a great idea, and we're going to give it a try. We're going to try to set up a meet and greet and prayer with local pastors in whatever city we're going to, right? Come meet us at the park at this day. We will pray. We will, you guys can ask any questions you want to ask hard questions, ask easy questions. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And we are going to pray for your city. At the end of the day, we're going to pray that lost people might be saved, the brokenhearted may be put back together, that the sick might be healed, those types of things. And we're going to try to unite in prayer with you guys once again, with the hope that that won't just be a one-time thing, that those local pastors will want to continue to gather together and do things like that. Another thing that we want to do is we want to use a pop-up canopy to give out our Bibles. As part of our tent revival ministry, we also give out free Bibles. That's some of where your money has went and will continue to go. We go through Amazon. I hate doing that, but I don't know a cheaper way, unfortunately, to do it. And we order gift Bibles through Amazon. We can get them for about $6 a piece, somewhere in there. I haven't checked them this year yet, or at least in December, I haven't checked them. But I'm guessing they're still about the same, about $5.50, $6 a Bible. We order them. We've given away a few hundred Bibles over the last couple of years now. And so we want to use, and we found it to be a great tool of ministry. So we want to use that to continue to minister. And so we want to get this canopy, and we want to set it up, whether it be like at grocery stores or maybe Walmart or the town square somewhere. And we want to give out Bibles. And we want to also think about, Lord willing, we would like to, with that Bible, couple like maybe a bottle of water and a thing of jerky, because like I said, we run into a lot of homeless and a lot of addicts that are hungry and thirsty, and it's always hot because it's like the middle of the summer when we're doing this, right? And so I know it's not much. I know it won't feed them for a week. It won't, they'll be hungry again tomorrow. They'll be thirsty again tomorrow. But if we can just give them a little something to get them along their way, but use that as an icebreaker to tell them about the good news of the gospel, to tell them how Jesus can set them them free, to pray for them, to ask God to deliver them from the addictions that they're in, right? To use that canopy and those things as an icebreaker. And we hope that this fosters a little bit of righteous jealousy, right? Kind of a poking of the bear in the churches, that they might try to get more involved in the community that they're in. Now, the cool part about this is that y'all don't know, but I'm fixing to tell you. I had a guy in Southeast Missouri. I'm not going to say his name. Super good guy. I love him to death. He actually came to another one of our revivals that was close to that same city, that gave us, or that donated, a canopy to our ministry. And he said, man, I got this canopy and I was going to use it to do the things of God that I felt like God was calling me to do, and I never did it. And I felt like God said, give that to them. They will use it for the right thing. Them being us as Exodus Ministry. And ever since then, man, I've really struggled. Like, what are we supposed to be doing with this canopy? Because we have our big tent, and I'm not sure. It's like a 10 by 10 canopy. What are we supposed to do with this thing? And I thought, well, maybe we're supposed to set it up and just give out our Bibles 24/7. Just set a table up. Nobody has to be there. You can't steal what we're already giving away, so it doesn't matter, right? Just come get a Bible. But that never quite settled right. And now this winter, praying about what to do next year, this is kind of what we feel led to do. So it kind of makes sense. It's kind of neat. Maybe it's neater for me than it is you. But anyway, share that story with you anyhow. But like I said, that the real point of that is to try to break the ice, to tell people about Jesus, and also hoping that that will create a little bit of righteous jealousy in the local churches. Now, something else we're going to try to do. We are going to try to be there in the cities holding revivals Sunday to Sunday. Something I did not mention that I just missed, I forgot, is part of that quality versus quantity. Like I said before, we showed up on a Monday and we had services by Thursday, right? We are going to try to go a week ahead of time. That's whenever we're going to get our flyers out, and we're also going to do that canopy kind of ministry, kind of give out Bibles, maybe food, maybe water, if the Lord will make a way to do such a thing. And if we can figure out insurance and all of those types of things. We want to show up a week ahead of time to do that before we do our revival event. Now, we would like to do our revival event Sunday to Sunday. Why so long? Well, because a lot of times people don't know we're in their city until we're already leaving under those 4-day events, which might mean we may have to do more fairgrounds than city parks. Unless the Lord opens up some gates, if you will, within those cities, because cities a lot of times don't want to let us set up that long. They'll give us about 4 days. Usually they won't give us that, but if I tell them that's just how we generally operate, they'll give it to us, right? As a former city employee, I know that they're looking for precedents. And so now we've had a few cities that have let us set up for a week in their parks. And so maybe I can tell them, hey, we have some precedents for this, right? And so, I'm hoping maybe that will help open the door. I also understand there may be cities that we're not able to set up that long, but we'll do our best to set up longer than 4 days, right? But we would like to start Sunday night and then run through the next Sunday night if possible. And why so long? Once again, not just to give people more time to come to our revivals, but also to set a precedence within that city to the local assemblies of, like, be willing to put in the work, be willing to put in the hard things. Now, sometimes it's just my wife and children at these revivals. And so I'm a little nervous about that one, to be honest with you, because it's hard enough 4 days in a row to show up to a tent and nobody be there, right? Like, that's hard. 7, 8 days in a row is going to be way harder. And so pray for us if that be the case, that we'll be strong enough just to continue on. Now, that being said, let's do a cost breakdown of those things. Why are we doing this cost breakdown? Well, once again, you guys donate to our ministry. We are accountable to that donation. We want to let you guys know what it is we're doing with that money and what we have done in the past. So I'm really doing this looking forward to what we're going to be doing. So that's kind of the numbers you're going to see. And I'll explain how that might have been different during the past revivals, okay, or during the past revival seasons, however you want to look at that. So last year, we had that family that donated, and we were able to get a van and this camper, which has helped tremendously. We don't have to stay at Airbnbs anymore. Those were really expensive. We don't have to stay at hotels. Those were really expensive. We can save a little money by being in this camper, and now it doubles as an office as well when we're home, which is also very appreciated. So our van, we have roadside insurance on it as well. That way, if something something happens, we've only got one vehicle going down the road. So if something happens and we need some roadside assistance, we want that available to us. That is from experience. So previously, we used our private vehicles to try to do ministry work because it's what we had available to us. And I blew my truck motor up and doing ministry type things, and it was hard. And the roadside assistance was greatly appreciated. So, our insurance is about $226 a month. We also use a streaming software. And the reason why we use that is because it's a good way to help get the word out and to help show what it is that we are doing. Now, do we want to show off to people? That's not our heart, right? We want to see people, we want people to see God moving through the tent revival ministry that we are doing so that other churches may be encouraged to do something similar or may be encouraged to have revivals at their churches, right? That's the point of it. And so it's about $45 a month. I got some notes here and everything just went kind of haywire. Let me readjust this. Insurance, event insurance. It costs, we have to have insurance for every tent revival that we do. Every city requires it, every fairground, wherever it is we're at, they require insurance. So it costs about $112 per event. Facebook ads runs about $200 per event. Now, flyers, the flyers themselves maybe run you about 40, maybe a little bit more dollars for the flyers, depending on how many you get, right? So that doesn't sound all that expensive. But then you got the fuel of being gone all day, running the van all day throughout the city, passing out these flyers. And usually that is about the only day that we go out to eat because we don't have time to cook, because it's usually late by the time we get the flyers done. And so there's additional cost associated with that we'll go on through, or that we'll address here as we go. The campgrounds, they're either $50 a night, or a lot of times we can get a weekly rate, so anywhere between $250 and $400 by the time you apply taxes and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to run us about, if we're going to be there 2 weeks, it's going to run us about $600. So previously we would just be there about a week or 8 days, and we would get the weekly rate, and then sometimes they would comp us that extra. They wouldn't make us, they would just give it to us. Other times they'd charge us, right? But we was doing maybe 2 or 3 in a month. And so it's going to be a little bit more expensive per event, but we're not quite doing as many events. Now, looking forward, I could see us maybe doing 2 a month, but that's a different story. Probably not this year. Venue rental. So every place we go, whether it be a city park or whether it be a fairground, almost every place charges us rent to set up our own tent on those grounds, right? And so it's kind of wildly different. They can be anywhere between $50 and $200 depending on where it is. Fairgrounds may be a little bit more. City parks may be a little bit less. Generally speaking, you can look at about $150 a day. So if we're there 8 days setting up our tent revival, it's about $1,200 per event. Fairgrounds are going to run you more about $1,400 to $1,600, just depending on the fairground. Porta potties. Some places have bathrooms we can use. Some places don't. Some places require us to get porta potties even if they've got bathrooms. And so you're looking at about $400 for a week long of getting those porta potties. Food and paper products. So once again, we're in our camper. We do as much cooking as possible to try to save money. If you are a large family, you know what it costs to go out to eat, right? It's like 60 to 80 bucks just about anywhere you go. It doesn't matter. We go to a lot of pizza and Chinese buffets, which are not healthy, but they're cheap. And so it's going to be about 60 to 80 bucks, depending on where you go. So we cook as much as we can at the camper. However, that also costs money. And so for our family of 6, it's about $300 a week. That includes all of our, toilet paper, paper towels, and all that jazz as well. And so you're looking at about $600 in total if we're going to be gone 2 weeks. Laundry. Our campgrounds, they either have a laundromat or we have to go into town to the laundromat. You're looking between 60 and 80 bucks for a 2-week stint getting our laundry done. Fuel is about $100 there and $100 home is about what you got to budget with our big van. Now, that being said, we also, if we're going to be there 2 weeks and we're going to be running into town, doing our canopy every day or whatever it is, handing out flyers, going back and forth to our tent revival event, I do try to get campgrounds close to wherever it is we're going to be holding the tent revival as close as possible. It's just better all the way around. But if it's $100 there and $100 home, that's $200 off the top, plus maybe another $200 to $300 of running around while you're in that city. So I would say more usually about the 2 tanks while we're there. So about another, because it's about $100 a tank, right? So So it's going to be about 400-ish to 500-ish dollars per event. And then miscellaneous cost I got as 200. That miscellaneous cost is like I broke a sledgehammer, or I need new spikes for our tent, or I got to go get some duct tape for something, or some zip ties, or whatever it might be. It's going to run about at most $200 event. What is not included in those miscellaneous things is like, if my family and I want to go eat ice cream after revivals are done, right? We picked everything up Monday. We've got everything loaded. That night, we're like, man, the kids have been stuck in the camper and at the tent, and it's been hot and it's been miserable. And some ice cream would go a long way for morale. The ministry doesn't pay for that. That comes out of our own checking account. Also, there's been a few times where it's like, I am tired of eating this food. I want to go to the barbecue place in town. And if we do something like that, the ministry doesn't pay for that. We don't feel right doing that. We pay for it out of our own pocket because it's what we feel led to do. So that brings us to about $3,700 per event. Now let's talk about what's not included in that $3,700 per event. What's not included is if we hand out waters and prepackaged food, because I don't have any idea how much that's going to cost yet, or any extra insurance that may be associated with that. Also, I'm not sure if cities will charge us some sort of fee to set up, right? Some sort of canopy fee or rental fee to set up in their town. So a lot of times we have to pay like a tent permit and those kinds of things for our big tent. I don't know if they'll require anything for that 10 by 10 canopy. Also, what's not included in there is our Bibles that we would be giving away. I would anticipate having to get, if we do that for a week before our tent revival, then we got a lot more Bibles that we're going to have to give away. And if you're thinking, well, what about the Gideons? Could you work with them? You have to be a friend of the Gideon or a Gideon to get Bibles at a reasonable rate. And so that is not something we're interested in doing. And so the Bibles cost us, once again, about $5.50, maybe $6 per Bible. And so you can kind of do some math, how many Bibles you think we're going to give away. If we give away maybe 100 of them, right? Per event, man, you're $500 or $600. If we gave away 50, it's going to be less, obviously, right? Less than that, just depending on. Also, that's not including if we paying ourselves. So those of you that don't know, we do this full time. Partly because I don't know how I could hold down a steady job if I'm gone holding these tent revivals 2 weeks out of every month through the summer months. On top of that, now whenever we're home, I'm trying to get the maintenance caught up around the house, as well as extra Bible studies. So this may not be extraordinarily clear to you, but whenever we're in revival each and every night, and you're always focused on what am I supposed to present tonight and what are we supposed to do this week. I'm not doing a whole lot of particular Bible study, topic Bible studies, those types of things in those moments, because I'm hyper focused on what God wants me to preach. And so I use the winter times to pray and fast and to try to learn more. This winter, I've been studying out local assemblies scripturally. What did those local assemblies do? How did they operate? What did they do within their local assemblies? What types of things, how often did they meet? How often did they break bread? Was it every time they gathered together? What was the point of those local assemblies? Like all of those types of stuff. That's really been my focus this winter in my extra Bible studies. So the cost doesn't really include like the Bibles and all those types of things. It's going to be extra. Once again, we tell you that so that we are being transparent with the money that you guys are donating to our ministry, right? And letting you know that, once again, we do this full time. And so, once again, that's just transparency. It's letting you know that is also how we pay our phone bills and whatever other bills that we have associated with it. As I said, we do live in a tiny house, so we're able to have pretty low overhead as far as our personal bills. That being said, I hope you guys are in our camper, and I just hit the little table and you guys had a mini earthquake. Sorry about that. I do hope that our ministry has blessed you, and it's not us, it's the Lord working through us, right? We understand that the Lord is the source of the blessing. And so if you've been blessed, if you've been encouraged, whatever it is, just know that it's come from the Lord. I'm a train wreck. My wife and I are just like any of you guys. We struggle with a lot of the same things. And so if you've been blessed through our ministry, it's been the Lord working through us. So far, the Lord has blessed and took care of our ministry and allowed us to do these things. And it has been fantastic and invaluable learning experience, an eye-opening experience, something that truthfully I was thinking about that today. Like, I kind of wish every pastor would get to experience at least some version of what it is that we are doing, so they could see it on such on a larger scale than what they see it in their own churches. It's kind of deflating sometimes, but it's encouraging. And I have not ever been one to back down. I am one to very much press forward into things. And so, seeing that the need that is present in the Ozarks here. And I'm sure if I get the opportunity, I know we've been to Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's been the furthest we've been away. If I could, if the Lord would send us to other states and other places, I'm willing to bet it's the same there. And that will just light a bigger fire in me to try to do the things that He's called us to do, to spread His name and to light a fire within the children of God. And so, anyway, I hope this ministry has blessed you. I'm rambling now. We will see you guys in the next videos, and we appreciate you guys very much.